Hello, good morning. Trust everyone is caffeinated after that. My name is Tharme. I'm one of the football tactics writers at The Athletic. Very privileged this morning to be joined by a really good panel who will introduce themselves in a moment to talk through the coach-analyst role, which we'll come on to probably define. And there's three things really this morning that we want to talk through, which is the reasons why and how analysis and coaching processes are becoming more aligned at the top level, identifying the key responsibilities of said role, and the changing demands of modern coaches and modern players. So we'll go across and guys, can you please introduce yourselves?
I started my career 20 years ago, where I started to work for a company who worked in football analysis, in video analysis, and in data collection. Then in 2007, I joined Opta, where I had the opportunity to improve my skills in the analysis of the opponent team, and also to increase my skill in the data parameters and the event data. In 2008, I started to work with the Italian national team, where I worked for 12 years. I worked with the national A team and also with the youth team, mostly with the under-21 team. In 2017, I started to work for the teacher school in Coverciano, the FIGC teacher school, where I am a teacher of match analysis for them. And in 2021, I joined Inter, where I have been nominated head of the football analysis department. I started to project there the data analysis department, who is actually composed by 2 data analysts, 2 data engineers, which is managed by Giovanni Marchese, who is the data scientist who is here with me. Actually, in Inter, we have 8 match analysts. We have 3 match analysts who work with me with the first team. We have a match analyst who work with the A woman team, and other 4 analysts for the youth teams. As I told to you, actually we are the bigger department in Italy because we have, as I told to you, 12 persons in total actually.
So welcome to everybody. I'm Rudy, Cuni. I'm 32 years old. I work now in Stade Rennais. I began 8 years ago. That's my fourth club, my fourth experience in my third club now. So I began in Corsica, in Bastia, during 4 years. And after that, I had a period with no job where I developed a lot myself. Discovering all the sports, all the staffs, and to build myself as a better analyst. I joined Rennes 6 years ago, and after that I created and developed the analysis department. Hired first 1, 2, 3, and 4 analysts, data scientists, some data analysts years after years. I met the coach who I am working with now, Julien Stéphan, in Rennes, and I followed him in the next club in Strasbourg, also in French Ligue 1, going to west of the France to the east during 2 years, and after that we are going back to Rennes since November for the second experience in Rennes, and now I have the role of the coach analyst and not head of analysis department. I am dealing with them. I collaborate with them, and I like to have this role and to develop this role months after months.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Jonathan Hill. I've probably followed a fairly traditional path in terms of my progression in analysis. So from university, I completed an internship with Blackburn Rovers. Spent 2 really great seasons there. From there, went out to Qatar. Spent a year working with the QFA out there, which was a really great experience. And then came back to work for Crystal Palace. Then on to Tottenham. And after 3 years at Tottenham, met Scott Parker, who from there who I've followed and worked with. So moved to Fulham as part of his staff, onto Bournemouth, and then most recently Club Bruges in that coach analyst role.
Thank you. So you can see how I think footballing rich this panel is from different leagues, Europa League, Champions League experience. And Filippo, I'd like to start with you. Really, it's become increasingly tactically complex football in the past decade. How has that impacted your job and your role?
Yes, this impacted a lot of our job because now we have some difference than maybe 10 years ago. Now we have a lot of departments inside the club. We have, for example, a match analysis department, a data analysis department. We have a sports science. So we must be able to connect all these departments to speak with all the area. And also we have a lot of variables actually. We have much more data, and we must be able to manage all this data. The coach actually want to know everything about their team. They want to know about, for example, the technical and tactical data. They want to know about physical data, and they need some people who can connect all this information. You know, inside the club there is maybe an assistant coach, there is a person who can do just one or some things, but there is not so many people that are able maybe to speak about the data, that are able to understand which is the data about the performance. They are able to speak with the different area. They are able to do coaching. Maybe also we have the skill to be able to choose the right solution on the pitch for the players. So we are able to connect all this area to help the coach to take the right decision. I think another side of our job actually is the ability to have a game lecture. We are able to give information also in real time during the match, and this is one big ability of our work, because we have also a lot of data during the match, but we have also the ability to watch what happens inside the match and to speak with the coach, for example, to give some information also in real time to him. So the job is really different now. Maybe 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we work just with the eyes. Now we are going to objectify the skills and the performance about the players.
And building on that, Rudy, what have you found to be the main factors, either from specific coaches that you've worked with or clubs, that they want to really marry up now coaching analysis closer than ever?
I think today one of the main challenge we have regarding the complexity we talked just before is to translate the complexity to simple things. And for me, it's something I deal with every day, and that's the main part of my job. I think we can have different vision if we all look at the same situation on the game. We can be 10 around the same situation, and we can have 7 or 8 different vision. So for me, that's why also the coach, the head coach, has to have with him in this team a people who is thinking in the same way of him, and also to challenge him regarding all the situation he can deal with. So for me, there are also another thing. We have a new generation of coaches. They put a lot of time, and they think these coach that the balance of power of the game can be more impacted by tactical things. So we have to be more precise and simple in the things we deliver to them.
I think then for you, Jonathan, kind of building on Rudy's point there, and Scott Parker, someone you work very closely with and have followed across clubs, is very much held up as part of this emerging generation of young English coaches who have come through, maybe not their entire career, but definitely part of it, with performance analysis as part of that upbringing, that part of the training, the matchday process and the review process. Do you think that's made it just more normalised, resulted in greater acceptance and buy-in for what you do?
Yeah, I think without doubt that's played a huge part in how you see certainly some of the young ex-professional players that have just finished and transitioned very quickly into head coach roles. I can kind of only directly really share some of Scott's opinions on analysis, but yeah, he really values it and is very, very clear how he wants to best utilize it. And that, again, is a reflection of him being sat in a meeting room and experiencing a lot of analysis sessions. He's very, very clear in that he doesn't particularly enjoy seeing other players and other teams. He's very much likes to see himself because he constantly wants to reflect and improve on himself. And again, that drives some of our processes and some of the methods that we use. So again, to try and share some insight into that, while we would obviously deliver a lot of pre-match analysis, it would be done in a more structured way that involves best practice type clips of our team, of our players, whether that's training, games, all that kind of stuff, to say drive that belief that Scott has, that he would rather show the players in the room themselves delivering what he wants. And I think also just going into that the fact that you've got head coaches that have got such diverse experience with analysis is they are so much more informed around not just video but data and its impact and the power it can have to a player, and really help support that buy-in and the development of whether it's tactical, technical, all these kind of different facets that we can influence in the role.
A follow-up really for you, Jonathan, I guess, is I'm conscious of trying to get as many specifics here as possible because these things will really differ sort of on club to club. There's a clip people have probably seen on social media from a few years ago now, Bournemouth's promotion game from the Championship, where Scott Parker gives quite an emotional sort of team talk at half-time, and actually has some video that's going on in the background. And again, you've not got to share the sort of specifics of the analysis within it, but just the role that can then play in moments like that I think analysis has always been seen as something that's very reactive. There's a very seminal paper that people be aware of from Frank Miller in the 80s that found coaches can't recall much information. And that was why analysis largely was seen as we need this to help. And now it's sort of having that in-game impact as well.
Yeah, I think so. Just going into not too much specifics of that clip, but the processes. So the halftime process is a very small window to try and influence the game and the state of the game, but the decisions you're making are often correlated to what you've prepared for. So it's almost a case of going, well, yeah, the game's unfolding as we thought it would. Now we need to maybe just tweak this, tweak that, or to some extent the game's not unfolding as we predicted and it's a major tweak. So you're already kind of, to some extent, know what you're going into that halftime period, because you've kind of assessed everything in the pre-match and the game plan process. So as I say, in that halftime process, it was very much like confirming, going, okay, this is how we expected it to go, and how can we now influence the change that we need to for the second half. In that occasion, it was obviously a draw, and we were trying to win the game. But again, I go back to the point of how analysis can be utilized, and it's not just from a purely technical, tactical, we need to adjust the formation, tweak this pattern could really be effective against, the 4-4-2 block, but it's also a kind of cultural and motivational side of things. So within our processes, Scott uses emotive kind of music and storytelling within the analysis process to as I say, try and influence performance that way. So again, you're trying to marry up the two, knowing at half time he's thinking in his head, and the conversations before he speaks to the players is, I really need to lift them, I need to drive this element, and it needs to be super positive. And then you're correlating, going, right, well, here's a couple of clips. Whereas if the clips are not aligned to, say, the message he's trying to deliver, you haven't got full alignment there, and that's crucial in that 5-minute period you really have to influence.
Back to you then, Filippo. How have you found the demands of coaches to have changed during your time as an analyst?
I think the demands of the coach have changed a lot. We are working with a new generation of coaches. Maybe when I started my job 20 years ago, the coach were just the person who worked on the pitch and who had a good communication with the players, with the staff. Actually, the approach of the coach is changed a lot. They have an analytic approach. They have a lot of information. They are not just the coach who watch the video video, for example, about their team or about the match against an opponent team, but they have an objective analysis now. They have an analysis with the data. We can say that they have a data-driven approach, actually. They have a lot of information, and the coaches want to know about this type of information. They have, for example, technical and tactical data about the trainings, about the matches. They have physical information about the trainings. They have a lot of data about this, about, for example, the running of the player, the speed, all this information. They have also medical data. They have psychological data. This is all right information to connect between and to give the right information to the coach. So we need to filter this type of information because we have a lot of data. We need to connect all this information, and we can help the coach to find the right solution and to find the right idea maybe for a training session, for an exercise during the training. So I can say to you absolutely that the demand of the coach is really changing now, and this is an objective analysis now.
Guys, please do keep questions coming in as well. There's a few great ones already. I'll get onto those in a second. Rudy, I guess sort of similar to you, do you find the demands have changed as well, and also possibly when you work with the same coach across different clubs, how the resources you have, or maybe your position in the league, all those details impact your role?
It's clear that the demand is growing up each season, no doubt about it. For me, I have a rule. It's even if the demand is growing up, I have a rule called less is more. And for me, the more work, of course, we have to respond to the requests for sure with the team and the analyst team. That's clear, but at the end, the result has to be very simple and clear for the players. At the end, the objective for the coaching staff is that the player trusts what the coach says, and for that we have to deliver good messages, good information in the good way. And for me, that's the most important thing. The way we are delivering the information is essential for me. Even if the demand is important, at the end we have to deliver simple message to the player, adapting to how the player and the people is, because players are people, and we are not going to deliver the same message to two different players. It's essential for us.
I've got a first audience question here. Jonathan, I'm going to come to you with this because I think I kind of know the answer, but how does your role compare to a traditional analyst in terms of being on the training pitch or being more directly involved with the players?
Yeah, I think this is a really big element that I've certainly spoken to yourself about, Liam. He's trying to, for me, convey the nuances of sort of my role as a coach analyst. I think the phrase with all job titles, you can get bogged down in a little bit of like coach, analyst, all this kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's kind of a hybrid role. You're bridging the gap between coaching and analysis. It's kind of my belief and how I see things is the department now of analysis used to be very, very merged in terms of data, video, and now I think it's becoming a lot more specialized because people's skill sets are becoming so incredible, and the level of work is so detailed that the traditional model of an analyst being able to do a bit of data, do a bit of video, be expert on kind of sports code, all this kind of stuff is kind of gone because people are so elite in those different areas. So yeah, how I kind of see it is how I certainly spend most of my time is that I'm not someone who spends hours and hours on the grass. I don't want to be. It's not an area that I feel comfortable in. I am more than comfortable kind of, I guess, delivering coaching in a meeting room via video rather than sort of stepping into a possession and trying to correct some sort of technical element that way. And I think it comes back to also the first question that you asked me around a head coach and their influence and role within analysis and their buy into it is they're also a lot more comfortable in that environment because they've not done kind of a 10-year apprentice of coaching on the grass and all that kind of stuff, but they are comfortable watching a game, analysing a performance, analysing things that go on the pitch and influencing decision making and all that kind of stuff because that's what they know best. So yeah, to try to get back to your original question, the nuances of the role, people will do it in very, very different ways. What I guess a Scott Parker coach-analyst looks like is different to another manager's version of it, is different to another club's version of it. But I think right at the heart of it is really bridging the gap between the two departments, making sure there's key alignment there that ultimately allows the coaching staff to deliver the analysis provision they want to and they believe is going to make the biggest influence to performance. I think that's covered it.
That's great. Rudy, can I ask you the same question?
For me, I was not going to the pitch in my precedent club. I started going to the pitch at the end of my first experience in Rennes and after in Strasbourg. For me, it's clear. I don't want to go to the pitch just to go to the pitch. I want to go to the pitch when there is a need and where is a link between tactical aspects we just talked about in video just before the video and what we are going on the pitch. Also now the coach wants me more in the pitch to have my feeling on about how are the player, how do you feel them. So I going for that. But for me, the key is to go on the pitch just for tactical aspects, and also we are not doing that on Rennes now because we don't have the material. But in Strasbourg, we made a video on the pitch in live. So what was going on the pitch was analyzed in live, and we can make some adjustments directly on the pitch. So for me, it's essential. I'm now in Rennes in charge of set pieces. So I make the set pieces on the pitch, and for me that's all.
So Filippo, does your role change at all when you're working in a Serie A game compared to Champions League or a Coppa Italia game?
Yes, absolutely. It's changed a lot because, when we play, for example, in Italia Serie A, we know everything about the opponent team. We know everything about the other players. And also our coach and our technical staff have this information about, for example, the other opponent team. So we don't need to give to them a lot of information. We must to choose the right information. We must to be synthetic because we have all these parameters that we already know. And we just needed to share also with the team just a little set of data and information. When we play out of Italy, for example in UEFA Champions League, we don't have all this information when we start to analyze a team about the opponent team, but we need to start to know everything about them. For example, last year we played against a Czech team, we played against 2 Portuguese teams. We know, for example, who are Porto and Benfica, but we don't know all the skill set about them. So I start my job earlier, maybe 1 month, 25 days before the game. I start with Giovanni to analyze all the data about this team, and we needed to contextualize it because I do an example. When we played, for example, against Porto and Benfica, they was in the 1st, 2nd or 3rd position in every ranking in their domestic league in Portugal. But if we wanted to analyze the same, for example, data in Europe, they are not in the 1st position, but they are in the half position of the ranking. So we need really to contextualize this type of information, and we need to give to our technical staff the right information to understand how they play, and which is the difference between in Europe and out of Europe when they play in their domestic league or they play in Europe, for example.
A follow-on from that question for you then, Jonathan, I suppose, is I know you've worked in European competitions as well, but then the difference of, say, working in the Championship where you've got a much more condensed match schedule, you're playing midweeks as well as the weekends, how that maybe impacts your role and just how maybe more important it becomes where training time is reduced or it's lesser intensity. You can't always go through everything that you might want to in terms of game prep or tactics.
Yeah, I think the demands of the Championship is very different to the Premier League, especially for the kind of teams that I've experienced and worked for. When you get promoted to the Premier League, you're playing Saturday to Saturday. You've got a week to prepare for a game. In the Championship, we often get spoken about, but you go in Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and it is relentless in the schedule, and it's being able to still provide the quality of work and the volume of work that's required. And something that I always kind of work to is working back from ultimately what is required and what the manager wants to deliver. So that could be a pre-match meeting, which is split into 2 meetings of in and out of possession, a set piece meeting, game plan meeting, all these kind of various different meetings that he wants to put in the schedule, and then how you then work back and build a process that is going to enable that. So within the Championship, to try and fit that in terms of playing Saturday, then you've got to go again Tuesday. Yeah, he's very, very demanding. So you're naturally trying to coach a lot more via video than out on the training pitch, because the physical loading is very much based around recovery at that stage. So a Sunday session again is probably off the grass, high recovery. On the Monday, you're talking about potentially a 10-15 minute walkthrough of some tactical elements, a few set pieces. So to get the level of tactical work that you want to you spend a lot of time in the video room. And again, probably, I know it's been mentioned within the panel, but you're also trying to balance the emotions of the role and trying to really provide that check and challenge as well, that it could be on a Saturday you've lost and then you're going into a high pressure game on the Tuesday. How do you, as a coaching staff and a collective, provide stability that this is the process, this is what we need to stick to, this is what we need to do, or this is what we need to change to, we need to tweak this. And within the role of the analyst, you've got to be proactive, so you're ready to ultimately react. So it could be that the manager comes in and all of a sudden he goes, well, do you know what, I don't want to do any pre-match this week. I know we've got 2 days to prepare, but I want to do post-match. I want to focus on this. This is a key thing that is going to be vital. I really want to get this message across to the players, and you've got to be ready for that. And as I say, you've always constantly got to really be so clear in your workflows, your processes, to try and make sure everything's ready to fulfill the needs of the coach. And that comes from that relationship element of it, and that's probably why now you see a lot more managers move with analysts, because they can instantly know that this is a guy who knows inside out what I want, what I need. He can deliver it, and I trust him. And then he can also provide that balance, that challenge element in the right relationship way. And as I say, with the Premier League, when you've got a game from Saturday to Saturday, it's a lot easier to have those processes, that time to work through things, that time to coach on the grass, to try different, say, pressing strategies and go, actually, do you know what? That didn't work. We've watched the training session back. We've tweaked that. We can do it again tomorrow. Whereas, as I say, you play Saturday to Tuesday, you don't have that time. And yeah, it's so crucial that you can do things through video and be prepared to do that.
Rudy and Filippo, I'm going to come to you both with this next question. Filippo, we'll start with you. Are you able to share some ways how you might take something from the analysis room, from the laptop onto the training pitch, into a session?
Yes, of course, I can share with you some example. One is real recent, because, for example, last Sunday we play against Naples. Naples has a goalkeeper who is left-footed. He usually, we noticed that he usually play the ball on his right side when he have the ball. So we analyzed this aspect and we decided to do a different pressure with our left player than with the right player. So we analyzed with Giovanni the characteristic of this goalkeeper, and we decided to change our defensive phase and the high pressure when the ball was on the foot of the goalkeeper for Naples. This is an example. Another good example for me is, you know, in Italy, now they are developing the defensive phase with the pressure man by man. There is a lot of teams who play man by man on all the pitch. We have the example of Atalanta, Torino, Fiorentina. And we need to do something different when we play against this type of teams. For example, when they press us man by man on all the pitch, we need a different movement with the player, we need different movement with the midfielder, with the forwards. So we try to analyze the pressure that this type of team give to us, and we start to train our player to play in different way on the field to have a better solution when they are in the game. For example, we played against Atalanta 2 weeks ago, and we did a good match in offensive phase because we have been able to do the right movement in the good timing. Because when you play against a team who play man by man in defensive phase, you must have the right timing in offensive phase.
I will give you another example. Maybe it would be a little different. For us, there are no 22 actors on the pitch, but 23. And the referee is very important for us in the process of analyze. I talked just before that we like to be inspired by other sports. And maybe there are some people who work in rugby here. And I really liked when I came to see rugby staff and rugby clubs work that there are some video session just on the referee to see how he's doing, how we deal with the game. So we try to do the same thing in Strasbourg and now in Rennes. We analyze at each game the referee because each referee are different. Based on the data and on the video. And for example, in Strasbourg, we also hired an ex-referee in our staff in order to help us during the training. Based on the data and the profile of the referee we will face during the weekend, the referee adapts his way of refereeing in the training. And we can maybe have an advantage and anticipate something. And now in Rennes, 2 months ago in January, we saw that the referee we had in the weekend whistles a lot. It was significant. A lot of fouls in the last third, comparing to the other referees. And specifically more for the home team. And we know this information, and on the other way, on the other side, excuse me, we know that the team we will face during the weekend on his defensive line had a player who committed a lot of fouls in certain situations. So we try to adapt our position game. We change a player and more dribblers in a certain zone of the pitch. So we obtain free kicks in a decisive moment and score a goal on it. So it's an example, but it's just to highlight that we want to analyze all the actors on the pitch, and the referee is very important for us on it.
Jonathan, I'm going to come to you on this. We've spoken a lot about the relationship with the coach, but I think it's important we talk about with the players as well, as of course they're a really big part of this. Have you noticed a difference in the amount and the ways in which players are interacting with analysis, whether that be, you know, across sort of all the phases you hear now of players having individual sort of analysts, or sort of being more proactive and sort of seeking that out rather than just sort of having that in a big team meeting aspect?
Yeah, for sure. Players are a lot more informed these days. They're a lot more expert, whether that's tactically, technically. They've had a lot of influences within their careers. So they're like big full vessels as such, with various different technical, tactical things. So they're a lot more. They're going to ask a lot more questions, and they're keen to know a lot more. And probably one of the key elements that certainly I believe in is how you sort of control that. So especially around a match day. So for example, one rule that I'm very, very clear on is, especially at halftime, at the end of the game, players instantly want to see things. They want to see, like, they almost want to know whose fault was it for the goal, or who was to blame. And I'm very clear in that the players know that I won't ever speak. I'll show them the video, but I will never give an opinion at that stage, or I won't ever kind of commentate over it or coach over it as such, because I don't know at that stage directly or indirectly what the manager thinks on that. So it's very important to create alignment. And if I'm saying, yeah, look, you've got to be across more, you've got to fill that gap, that's not your fault, or that's it. But then come Monday morning, we're in a meeting room and the manager's saying, you know, this element was wrong, this element's wrong, and that's contradictory to what I've said. You're not in my opinion, a kind of high performance culture, because there's not alignment there, and you're creating grey areas, confusion. So, yeah, players are, as I say, are a lot more informed, and you have to some extent, you have to sell what you're trying to do to the players. You've got to convince them. You've got to take them on a journey. You have to make them believe your method, your philosophy, your game plan is the right one, and there's a real art to that, I think, and that's something that is really powerful and really important these days. As I say, players have had so many different experiences, so many different styles of play, almost so many different sales pitches to this is this correct method to beat this team. This is how you should press against this opposition, a little bit like that. This is how you should beat a man-for-man system. But they've been told differently. This is the way you do it. This is the way. So how do you convince the players to come with you to do it and to visually see it? Is that best practice of them doing it to really confirm that they're in the best place to go and deliver what you believe is the way that can deliver the performance and the result that you want?
I believe that's all we've got time for, but a big thank you, guys. Some really, really fascinating insight there. Thank you.